Hello and welcome to Please Me. Last episode, Eve shared her backstory and some vulnerable information about her past. She hopes that her story can help those that can relate to the trauma of sexual abuse. Go back and listen if that is you. This podcast is intended for mature audiences. Eve is a licensed sexual health physical therapist on a mission to destigmatize conversations about sex. Please sit back and surrender to the pleasure of Please Me. Looking for the best live streaming or podcast recording site? Look no further than StreamYard. Get $10 off your first purchase. For podcast hosting, Buzzsprout is the absolute best option out there. Get $20 off your first purchase. Who's looking for a sexy date? STC.com is the premier ethically non-monogamous dating site that also houses a wealth of information regarding sexuality and sexual health. Join the Please Me Health Collective on STC.com and listen to Eve's free live webinars. Use code 37340 for a free trial membership. Maybe you're in the market for some sexy toys to add some spice to the bedroom. Check out the Organic Lovin' link for the best online store for sex toys, lubes, and more. Are you in menopause, perimenopause, or postmenopause? I have found the absolute best products called Parlor Games. I use the estriol and progesterone topical creams, and they have been game changers. Maybe you've listened to the show and want to be featured as a guest. Eve uses Podmatch to connect with new or potential guests. Reach out and begin the process today. Have any questions? Feel free to call me on the OWL app. Use code EH576472 for $10 free to use on the best networking app around. Give me a call. If you're experiencing sexual issues and need a physical therapy consultation or appointment, reach out to Eve and make an appointment on pleaseme.online. See all links and info in the show notes. Hello and welcome to Please Me, the podcast that aims to destigmatize conversations about sex and sexual health by turning the sheets into our classroom. Today, I'm so excited to welcome Kate Wells to the show. She is an author, a speaker, and a self-proclaimed biochem nerd. And she has 20 years of experience in bioidentical hormone products and hormone and genetic testing. And I am so excited to talk to her today. I discovered her on Instagram and reached out to her because I was looking for solutions for my own health. And I found her company and I want her to tell us all about it. So can you tell us about your passion for helping women, Kate?
Absolutely. Thank you for the introduction, Eve. I'm very happy to be here. Um, so, women have sat around in parlors together and helped each other for as long as there have been women. And when my best friend, Kirsty, who's now my business partner, came to me with a particular area of health that she needed help with, and I was able to help her. Um, we we decided that we were going to get together and bring some information about women's health to other women. And she cares a lot about helping other women. And so both of us feel that we were here and at this point in our lives when we could really focus on helping women cut through some of the sometimes mystifying information about their hormone health when it comes to perimenopause, menopause, and beyond. So that's what we do.
That's amazing. And I am in perimenopause myself. So I was looking for solutions for my own health. And so I was excited to find your company and, start a dialogue with you. And I've been using your products for a few weeks now, and I'm super excited about that. Tell me what brought you to want to create Parlor Games, your company.
So I have been in the field of bioidentical hormones for many years, and I would go to events and represent my company and talking about the different ways that hormones can help women. And when Kirsty reached out and said, Kate, I've got this area of my of health, it's an intimate area of health. I am starting to get dry. I'm starting to experience, painful sex. And I was able to point her in the direction of a particular type of hormone, a form of estrogen called estriol, which is very gentle estrogen, and it's very good for rebuilding vaginal tissue or maintaining that vaginal tissue. And she felt the benefit of that really quickly. And we sat around as friends do and plot to change the universe and decided that because this had worked so well for her and she knew that she had other friends who were dealing with this issue, that we decided that we had to make a product. We had to make a product and bring it to women so that they felt they had some choices. So that's really the foundation of our business.
I love that. And I often think that our medical system is failing us as women, my experience was, when I went to my gynecologist last year, and, she told me that I was in perimenopause, but really offered absolutely no solutions and no treatment. I felt lost, like, oh, great. Now I have to suffer through this, and I don't know what to do because my doctor isn't giving me any direction. And that's when, we as women really have to advocate for ourselves and our health. And it's unfortunate, but it really is a sort of self advocating um, system that we live in, right? Where unless you are searching for solutions on your own, your doctor is most likely not going to point you in the right direction, So, can you just touch upon how you feel like the medical system is failing us as women?
Well, sometimes I find myself thinking, oh, let us count the ways in answer to that question.
Right.
Many practitioners they're not set up to succeed in helping women. They have very short appointment times, and most women's health issues that are related to hormones and changes in hormones are not 6-minute conversations. They're longer than that. So our practitioners, A, aren't given the time to spend with their patients, and B, they're often not given the training. There are many practitioners who go through medical school and have maybe 5 hours of training on how to help women with perimenopause, menopause, and then postmenopause. There are even fewer practitioners who are taught um, ideas and resources to help women postmenopause. So much of the discussion seems to be, well, let's get women through the worst of the symptoms and then let them be. They're on their own after that. Um, and so women are, as a rule, just not treated as this precious resource that they are because women have so much wisdom. They have so much knowledge and there's kindness in them. And there's a role for bringing that to the workplace, to lives, to everybody's lives, to family life, to community. And when they are not supported in this incredibly important area of their health, their importance is diminished. And practitioners don't give them a range of hormone options to help them live optimally.
Absolutely. I so agree with that. And hence why, Parlor Games was born, right? And how long has the business been in operation at this point?
Um, well, Kirsty and I started working on this about 4 years ago. We launched in November 2020. That was fun to do in a pandemic. But it's just gained momentum. One of our big uh, commitments is to provide information for women. We would love to be in a world where we are not needed. And as we just touched on, there are many practitioners who don't have the resources to share with their patients. And so women are left flailing, trying to understand what's going on with their bodies. And so we're really committed to, combing the literature, have building our relationships with clinicians. And I have many powerful relationships, wonderful relationships with clinicians who can help. And we share information that helps women make sense of what is going on with their health, their hormone health as they go through these transitions. And then, of course, we have products to help them with that. Um, we try and encourage them to go and talk to their practitioners, and many of them do. And we even have practitioners who say, well, whatever you're doing, it's working. I want to know more about this so I can tell my other patients. It's very gratifying when that happens. We know we're doing really good work when that happens.
I agree. When you can get doctors that want to, recommend your products to their clients, that's a big deal. And these products are incredible. So, can you tell me just a little bit about, your top products that you sell? I know you have a line, but let's talk about the top
Mm,
products that you sell and what they
yeah,
do for the woman.
absolutely. So we started with an estriol cream, a vaginal estriol cream called Silky Peach Cream. And this one is our biggest bestseller. This is a cream which women can apply to the vulva. It can be, 2 pumps a day to begin with, because many of our ladies have been without estrogen in this very tender area for quite some time. And so you're kind of rebuilding the reservoir of estrogen to help that skin be healthy. And over time, they may need a little bit less and less of that, but you do want to maintain that regular reservoir of estriol cream, the Silky Peach Cream, to keep that tissue healthy for the long term. And it's not just for vaginal health. It's also for urinary health as well. As women get older, they begin to experience incontinence, and it can start with that, surprise when you sneeze, or when you run across a room just a little too quickly, or um, you just begin to get the sense of, oh, I'm not quite as confident in this area of my body as I used to be. And then it can progress to, full scale incontinence as women get older. And studies show repeatedly it's the lack of estrogen that can cause this situation. So our Silky Peach Cream really helps with this area of women's health. So our next cream that we developed was a progesterone cream. And why progesterone is important is that it, yes, it's critical for our reproductive function, but we stop our reproductive function when we're in our early 50s, and we can live another 30, even 40 years beyond then. And progesterone is important for so many areas of our body to function well. It's important for breast health. It's important for our brain. It's important for our bones. It helps our memory. It can help with digestion. Can help with blood sugar management. So progesterone has so many functions. And just because we're done with reproduction, we're not necessarily done with progesterone. And so we introduced our Vibrant Third progesterone, and we called it that because this next third of women's lives can truly be vibrant, and we want to help women live this vibrant life. And if they have adequate progesterone, that again makes a big difference to how optimally they are living. So then we also have a DHEA cream, and DHEA is such an interesting hormone, says she, the biochem nerd. DHEA, dihydroepiandrosterone, that's its full name. It has so many functions within the body. It's kind of known as the wellness hormone, and we begin to lose that as we get older. We have a peak when we're in our late 20s, and then it kind of declines steadily after that. And as it gets lower and lower and lower, we see this corresponding rise in like aches and pains and a bit more inflammation, and our other hormones drop. So the DHEA cream can be helpful for overall wellness when women are 55 and beyond. And then we have our Chaos Calmer. And I think the name says it all. We live such busy lives these days. We're constantly running from one thing to another, and certainly, certainly, starting and running a business when you're in your late 50s, that can start off a little bit of chaos going on. Um, The Chaos Calmer is a combination of GABA, magnesium, and L-theanine, which are all really good for helping calm the body and the brain. So those are our main products that we have, and we've got a pretty good following with those by now.
It's a wonderful line. And I love the story about the vibrant third and why you decided to name it that. Because I don't think a lot of people realize that, or women realize that 1/3 of our lives or more, depending on how you live, right? How long you live, will be spent in perimenopause, menopause, and beyond. And that is a huge chunk of our life that we are really unprepared for,
Right.
unfortunately. And so this is what it's all about, is trying to help women to become prepared for that time in their life so that they can live vibrant, amazing, lives during that time. And it doesn't have to be all about hot flashes and no energy and foggy memory and all of that. It can be truly vibrant if you take care of yourself. And so I am so thankful that you are a biochem nerd and decided to create this amazing company. So I was reading up on your, some of the things that you sent me, and one of the things that you had said was that together you and your partner, Kirsty Hegg, are saving the world one vagina at a time. And I love that because I like to say that through education, awareness, and communication, I'm helping women to close their orgasm gap one person at a time. So do you want to just like jump into that and just tell me a little bit about that?
Oh, I love that. Those are very two concentric missions that we have there.
Yes.
Um, well, one of the things that we do is laugh. Um,
Yes.
I mean, the older you get, the more you have to laugh, for heaven's sake, because otherwise you'd cry. But we laugh, we laugh in our workplace. And I have to tell you, we have such an amazing staff of women. We are so gifted and fortunate with the women that are part of our team. But we laugh. And so we decided, well, when we're coming up with a mission statement, I've had a long career in business. I've run businesses, I've been involved in businesses from small to large. But we decided that playfulness was an incredibly important part of our business. And we're also wanting to get the playfulness back in women's lives. Some women are heartbroken to no longer be able to be intimate with their partner. And we wanted to bring that playfulness back into their lives. And so why not have a mission statement that is playful? No, we are here saving the world one vagina at a time, and everyone on our team is doing the same. And every woman that we help that tells her friends, she is part of that mission too. And that goes back to that theme of women helping women. So, I mean, we take our work seriously, but not ourselves. That phrase. Um, and so and so we want to make people laugh. And a mission statement like that, I think tells people we're not all stuffy. We're here to help. We're here to laugh.
Definitely not. And it's funny and it's cute and it's also true, because if you
Hmm.
start using these products, they are really going to save your vagina and your vulva
Right.
and your clitoris, all of the parts that we need to stay active so that we can have a sexy, amazing sex life well into our, into old age, right? We want to have.
80s, 90s, it is possible.
Absolutely. It
Yes.
is absolutely possible. And, our bodies were built for pleasure. And so if we're just, hanging up the pleasure, outfit, at 55 or whatever, no, that's not okay. You don't need to do that. You can continue living a vibrant, sexy life for many, 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 many years. And so
Hmm.
I am so thankful that there are companies like yours that are, talking about this because it's so important. I mean, perimenopause and menopause are such infrequently discussed subjects, and it's so unfortunate because we all need to know how to handle this time in our lives. Can we talk about vaginal atrophy and what that is and why we need to try to mitigate that?
Right, right. So when we think about our skin, we're conscious of it like over the exterior of our body, on our face, our neck, our leg, our limbs, but we don't tend to think about the inside cavities of our bodies having a lining of skin. And the vagina is just one example of that. And that's the skin cells that line the vagina. They require estrogen to be strong and healthy and supple. When we look at our skin on our arm, for example, the skin is holding together. Nothing's going to get in there. It's doing its job of keeping marauders and bacteria and pathogens out. Now, we don't see that skin inside, so we don't tend to think about it acting in the same way, but it is important. The vaginal skin does need to keep pathogens out. And without estrogen, that skin doesn't hold itself together in the same way. It loses its plumpness, and over time, it becomes so dry that it's almost like it has little micro tears in there. Now, when we fall over as a kid, we fall off a bike, we graze our knee. We know exactly what that looks like. We can see it. The skin is broken, and we slap antibiotic cream on it and clean it so that the skin can begin to heal again. Well, internally in the vagina, we can end up with tiny little micro tears, so tiny little grazes that line the vagina. And over time, that can increase the risk of infections, whether that's bacterial or fungal. Um, it's because the skin is broken, but we can't really see it. There's the potential for those pathogens to get into our bloodstream. And so that can cause inflammation throughout the body. So not just soreness and tenderness in the vagina, but it's a way in for all sorts of pathogens. So, eventually women, when their estrogen levels decline and decline and decline, even if they're doing other things like using a moisturizer or using boric acid, for example, to make sure that the pH is low, um, they can end up with this situation where the skin is so thin and so tender that any attempt at penetration will tear the skin still further. And then you're into a kind of a healing. The body's always trying to heal itself. It does an amazing job of trying to heal itself, but without the right resources, it can't fully do that. And that's why adding in just a little bit of estriol, this very gentle estrogen, can help the body do its work. It's trying to repair itself. If you give it some estrogen in the form of estriol and you help it to repair itself, it will regain that stretchiness, that plumpness. Now, we're never going to have the amount of moisture we made when we were in our 20s and our 30s. But we can get that skin back to being healthy and supple and with no little tears in it.
Absolutely. And if you're sexually active, uh, it can even cause more tearing and,
Mm-hmm.
more abrasions to the skin. And like you said, that leaves you susceptible to infections. And, just the common infections can be such a pain to constantly deal with,
Mm-hmm.
UTIs
Mm-hmm.
and yeast infections. I know those things kind of, for me, have been issues that I often, have to deal with after having, sex, because sometimes I will get those micro tears and I end up with an infection afterwards that I have to treat. And so it inhibits my later on sexy time, because now I'm healing from something and I can't continue until it's gone. So, and plus, all of that makes you just feel so crappy, and you have to take antibiotics or whatever the
Mm-hmm.
medication may be. And if only you would treat the lack of estrogen, you could really make such a difference. And estrogen is produced by the eggs in our body, right? The female eggs, right? And
So estrogen is made from our ovaries
right.
when we are cycling.
Mm-hmm.
It's released from our ovaries. Excuse me. And a small amount is also made from our adrenal glands. But once we are no longer cycling, there is no signal coming back to our ovaries to make estrogen. And so that amount, it just gradually diminishes. So you can fall back a little bit on the adrenal gland to make DHEA, and DHEA gets converted to testosterone and then onto estradiol. Um, but when we are making less DHEA, excuse me, as we get older, or if we're living particularly stressful lives, that will diminish the amount of DHEA we make. We just don't have that supply anymore.
Right. And so without the supply, you're not going to have the suppleness of the tissues and it's just going to be very fragile. And so you will end up with micro tears and then later on could end up with painful sex. And, once sex becomes so painful that you don't want to have it anymore, then, that becomes a real issue. So, using these creams and also always using lubricant while you're having sex, because that can really minimize the micro
Mm-hmm.
tears. Wouldn't
Mm-hmm.
you say?
Oh, absolutely.
Yes.
Because as I mentioned, we're not going to make that internal lubrication that we did
Mm-hmm.
when we were much younger.
Mm-hmm.
Introducing a lube is really important. Now, there are some things to know about using a lubricant. You want one which has low pH. If you use one which is too high pH, you're going to alter that pH in the vagina. And the higher the pH, the more chance of bacteria or fungus setting up shop in there and running rampant. So you want a low pH lube. You also want one that's kind of the same water content as the cells and the lubrication that you would make naturally. If you use one which is too dry or too wet, that changes the dynamic within the fluid that's naturally produced in the vagina. But yes, when you pick a good one, stick with it and just have fun with it.
Absolutely. Definitely have fun with it. I mean, I always say that, sex is how adults play, and so I
Hmm.
love that you introduce playfulness into your company because, and you
Hmm.
support other women, and you hire other women because, we're all on this mission together, right?
Right,
And
right.
so, if we're having a wonderful play session, and we've been going for a while, always say that, if you're causing friction in the same area over and over again, no matter how
Hmm.
much lubrication your body produces, it is going to evaporate and it then
Hmm.
needs to produce more.
Right.
So, using a lubricant is good for,
Hmm.
you, whether you're in your 20s or in your 90s,
Right.
lubrication is so important when you're having sex so that you can fully
Hmm.
enjoy it from beginning to end.
Right.
Um, so another, I would say, unsexy topic that people don't really love to talk about is incontinence. And incontinence is so common. It's believed
Hmm.
that 50 to 65% of women will experience incontinence sometime in their lives. And
Right.
incontinence, unfortunately, does affect our sex lives because, if you're experiencing incontinence, you may not want, to have anybody in the area,
Right.
so to
Right.
speak, right? So do you want to just
And
jump in here?
right, who can feel sexy if you're worried about peeing? No. I mean, it's going to put most people off. It's like, don't press too hard. No. Um, that was just a little too hard. I'm going to get a towel. And so, I mean, there's always ways around it. And again, laughter can help. Um, but no, there are receptors for estrogen on the cells that are at the muscles at the base of the bladder. So you have your bladder, and you've got muscles that kind of sit at the neck. And you've got estrogen receptors on there, and they're kind of waiting for the estrogen because that helps. It's a big part of why they maintain their strength and vitality. And when you don't give them enough estrogen, they don't. kind of, it doesn't, those muscles aren't able to hold together and stay strong as much as they used to. And so you can get that sudden release, sudden release, sudden release. And you only have to go in the feminine products aisle and see the big section that there is for urinary incontinence to know that this is a huge issue that we're just not talking about. So when it comes to uh, really trying to limit incontinence and trying to be proactive about it, making sure you do have enough estrogen is important. And estriol has been shown to be really effective at providing, I'm going to come back to this phrase again, providing the reservoir of estrogen that you need for all of these tissues. The other thing is a range of pelvic exercises. It's not just Kegels, it's all sorts of things. As we get older, we know that muscles atrophy, they're not as strong as they used to be. It's harder to build and maintain muscles. Now, again, we can see that in our arms. We know they're just not strong like they used to be. We don't even think about all those muscles that are necessary to hold our pelvic organs in place, including our bladder and uterus. So making sure that we exercise those muscles is just as important as making sure you have enough estrogen in these tissues. So the other area of this, you mentioned a little bit on UTIs, but there are receptors for estrogen all the way along that tube that goes from the bladder to the outside world. And without estrogen or estriol of some sort, you you reduce the strength of the skin on the inside of that tube as well. And so you can get little local infections in there. It's one of the thought is that's one of the reasons why when women end up with what's called interstitial cystitis. It's not actually a bladder infection, but it's irritation of those tissues. So estrogen can help with that. And the more you are helping that whole pelvic area be healthy, the more you're going to be reducing the incidence of incontinence. Now, let me just say one more thing about that. There are studies that show that one of the major reasons that women end up in um, uh, elder care in a nursing home is because they have issues with incontinence. So starting early as they go through menopause and then into those early phases post-menopause to make sure that they are retaining or have enough supply of estrogen can really help slow down that process. I mean, if that's the only reason that a woman is being transferred into nursing care is because of incontinence, surely we should be able to do something about that sooner rather than later.
I love that you bring that up. And, as a licensed physical therapist that treats the pelvic floor, I appreciate that you bring up the muscles in the pelvic floor and the vagina. I mean, all of that is muscles. And,
Mhm.
as we get older, we get weaker. Unless we're really making an effort to exercise on a regular basis, our muscles will get weaker and we will be more susceptible to injury. And the same goes with the vaginal tissue and the pelvic floor. And so these are conditions, incontinence, prolapse, painful sex are conditions that I treat in my physical therapy practice. And estrogen is such a key part to keeping all of those tissues healthy. So I love that you really explained very specifically where those receptors are so that women can understand that estrogen is not just an idea floating around in our brain and then floating around in our body. It is needed for those tissues to be healthy and to be strong. And
Mhm.
so, all of that is so, so important. So, supplementing this estrogen as it's getting diminished is key to creating that, like you quote unquote, like you said, reservoir, right? Because our
Mhm.
body needs a reservoir to be healthy. It can't, go dip below what our body needs, and then you have to build that back up. So you want to maintain a baseline of estrogen. So I like that how you explained that. It was very, very clear. We are already running out of time. I can't believe it. It goes so fast. So I want to ask you my final question. What tools do you bring into the bedroom to make things spicier?
Oh, it has to be the lube. I know we talked about that, but what a game changer that is. There's one that we carry. You know, we did a lot of research to find out the lubes that, I mean, we hate our jobs. I mean, researching lubes, who wants to put that in their job description? I hate my job.
And through trial and error, you found
Yes, we
what's.
worked hard to test the lubes,
I love it.
sweated over it.
And you
But
found a
that
fave? Did
makes
you
a
find a
difference.
fave?
Yes, we did, and it's the Bio Nude Lube by Good Clean Love. We carry that. But I find that one's the game changer. And I will reach for it. I call it a whole bunch of things. It's like um, it's the fun juice, it's the love potion, it's the magic this, it's the magic that. I mean, I I like to, keep my partner laughing and enjoying what he's doing. I mean, not too much. I don't want him to lose focus. No, I need him on target.
You can
Do
laugh a
not want to
little, but
distract
not
him
so
too
much
much at
that
this
you lose
point.
your focus. Yes, absolutely.
Right. But again, it's like, it's making it playful uh and that just, I mean, that for me, that's a game changer. So that's what I take to bed in
Okay,
addition to
very
my partner.
good. And just say the name one more time.
The Bio Nude Lube.
The Bio Nude Lube. And I personally love coconut oil.
Hmm.
So I just use plain old coconut oil, but coconut oil is not necessarily the best to use with condoms. So if you're using condoms, you need to find something that is going to be compatible with condoms. And
Yeah.
so this particular one that you're talking about, is it the pH is the right amount so that okay,
Yeah, yeah.
okay.
This was the one we settled on, and there was some good research. We know we do have found a good research paper, in addition to our research, that kind of supported this one as being a really good product. So that's why we carry it and feel confident putting our name behind it. So
Well, if Kate is recommending it, I'm buying it because I could always, try something new. And in the bedroom, you should always be thinking about trying something new, right? Because this
yeah.
is how we play. And
Hmm.
if we are always keeping it the same every time, that's when boredom starts to set in. And so we want to keep
Hmm.
it playful, keep it fun, and keep it exciting.
Hmm. Well,
So,
that's what we want for our women. And we hear, I mean, when we first started, we would get emails back saying, "You've changed my life. I've got my sexy back on. Some were even like, you saved my marriage." And now we have more than we can count. We have women reaching out saying, "Thank you, thank you, thank you, for what this has given me back." So they're getting their play back, and that's that's what makes us happy.
I love that. Tons and tons of testimonials. And there's a Facebook group. She does a blog with tons of information. I mean, just a wealth of information that you can explore. So I want to just jump in here and say again that I am a licensed physical therapist and I treat conditions of sexual health in the pelvic floor. So if that's you listening and you need help or guidance, please feel free to reach out to me. You can reach out to me on pleasme.online. And I just want to make sure that my listeners can find you, Kate. So please let us know where we can find you.
That would be our website, and that is www.parlor, PARLLR hyphen games, GAMES.com.
Fantastic. And do you want to tell them about the subscribe and save options?
Right, right. We know that some people just want to buy one time and just see how it goes. But for those who are going to be consistent long-term users, and if you're going to keep that reservoir there, you're going to need to be. We do have subscribe and save options, so you can go to our website, at paula-games.com, and click on the shop button, and then you can see some different choices that you have. You can save significantly by doing one of the subscribe options. And here's one of the really cool things that I like about, again, what we bring to women. Many subscriptions are on a fixed cycle. We know that every woman is different. And so you can vary the duration of your subscription. It doesn't have to be every 2 months. It can be 3 months, 4 months, even 6 months. So we really try and help our customers just work out what works for their body.
I love that. And you may want initially for it to be, every 2 months, but then as your
Mhm.
body builds up its reservoir and you don't need it as frequently, then you can change it to less. And that is such a great option because, this is an expense that's coming out of people's pockets. And so,
Mhm.
having that option to, change the duration of shipping is really helpful. So I appreciate that you realize that everybody's going to use it maybe a little bit differently. You may recommend 2 pumps, but maybe 1 pump works for, some women, and that would double the amount of time that they would need,
Right.
to get it shipped for. So yeah, absolutely. I love that you can have some, wiggle room with that. So wonderful. I really appreciate you being on the show today, Kate. This has been such an amazing conversation. And I just want to thank you very much for, everything that you do for women. And thanks for being here.
Thank you. It was my honor. It's my favorite thing in the whole world to talk about. As my family has learned, they just walk away when I get going. They've heard it all before. So thank you so much for the opportunity to talk about my favorite subject. I appreciate it very much.
Well, I appreciate it too. And I love when people are so open minded that they're comfortable talking about this, So I really appreciate you. I just want to make sure that if anybody is interested in speaking to me, you can call me on the OWL app and you can use code EH576472. You can reach me directly on the OWL app, or you can reach out to me on pleasme.online and you can send me an email there. So with that being said, I'm going to say goodbye. Thank you so much for being here. Until next time.
Thank you. Take care.
Visit pleasme.online to reach Eve or for more information on products to increase blood flow and overall health, for her curated list of her favorite toys, and for swag that shows that you are a big fan. Please consider supporting the show.